Hi, this is John Bruchot from Arch Virtual, and in this video we're going to be taking a look at the very first UI UX prototype that we've actually built and tried inside virtual reality, inside Immerse Creator, which is a collaborative creativity application that we now have in early access on Steam. We've been sharing a lot about our design process, in fact posting meeting notes from every one of our meetings that we've been having for the past several weeks. And this is the first video that we've made showing the progress that we're making on the design. And again, this is the very first time we're actually looking at this inside virtual reality. So we're getting a sense of, the goal for this was to get a sense of proportion and scale and how the menu system actually moves. So we've been looking at where to position the main UI elements, where to position the info panels that correspond with each one of the tool sets, and how to manipulate those and how much control we want to be able to give the user so that they can customize the UI to suit their own development style. So that's what we're going to be talking about in this podcast. If you want to keep track of this, we're posting these meeting notes in the discussion forum on the early access Steam page for Immerse Creator, so you can check it out there. Thanks for watching, and here's the video from our latest brainstorming session.
If we want to change how...
Oh yeah, then it pops right in. Oh, I love it. I like how that feels a lot. I really, really do.
So I wrote the movement and scaling and stuff. There's some issue because of the way the input module handles the camera, but otherwise it's it felt pretty smooth like this. These are tweakable parameters too, like in the inspector.
Sure.
For the speed. So we could even add that to like a menu for settings. You could change how quickly things translate or scale. So I've experimented around sticking the main menu really close and then kind of being small, like scaling it down or putting another panel. You can even put them above you or wherever you want, really. I'm not sure if we want to control for where we're sticking these things or...
That's interesting. I wonder... Yeah, it almost seems like you just want to let people put them wherever they want. You know, why I don't see any value in restricting it, in a way. Like we had been talking about keeping it on a set radius and everything's at a distance, but in a way if you want to put it out there a little ways, go ahead and put it out there a little ways. What's the harm of that, and then you can just move it over. If you don't like it, you can just pull it in, put it wherever you want.
Yeah, and I've got a kind of temporary reset. If you hold the menu button down, it will reset the position. So if you screw up the scale a lot, and I made it kind of long, it's like a 2-second, you got to hold it for about 2 seconds. And all those are kind of tweakable in the editor.
I like how that feels a lot. So that's a panel. Oh, and then we got an object. Oh, cool. I see a bunch of... So these are all the menu objects pop up there.
Yeah. So that's for the menu items I had made earlier.
Oh yeah, cool. So I could see how those would open up. Yeah.
Yeah, so there's a circle here, and I was thinking if we move the circle over, maybe we could use that to help us define this panel dimension as being bigger if we needed to.
So which panel do you anticipate, or do you intend? So this, okay, so you're saying this is like shapes. So these are the buttons that you're using to access the panels. So it's the equivalent. So it's the equivalent of the main button.
I guess it would be, except I'm not sure if we've defined how we want that to work. Like we were talking about having a menu, and the thing that's next to you is just the tiny buttons. And I can pull I can pull the menu panel over next to me like a little tool belt, and I can make it really small. And then that could be like this tiny thing next to me, and maybe I just push this button to open a bigger panel A shape panel. Or do we want it to be that the panel right next to you changes? And it seems to make more sense to have it be a smaller button that we push, and then we open another panel.
Yeah, that's what I like that, because then you've got, yeah, you want to have a lot of real estate on that main panel, because that could be a huge panel of information and all kinds of little options and check boxes and different things you can do. So that one you want to be like kind of a big scene, you know, big panel, I think. Whereas this one's more like the little panel that you use to get to those.
Yeah, it seems like would be great if it was about, if they're just the buttons, it'd be about like 30 or 40% smaller. If they're just going to be just buttons.
Yeah,
right.
as far as scale goes, and do we want it to be something that we can control, like with these menus? Do you want to be able to like just position this thing and scale it, or do you think it should be more of a fixed thing that we make a certain size?
Well, what I'd like to be able to do, and I don't know, I mean, just maybe just thinking off the top of my head, like if we had every one of like the shapes, lines, you know, these are all individual buttons across, and they have their own snapping nodes. So basically, let me just draw a line here. So like if I'm going to draw, I'll draw it in front of me. So like every one of these things has its own little, whoops, let me turn off my menu. And I can just grab one of these. Like if I want shapes to be detached, I could just grab onto it. Maybe it is through like the little node up here or something, and I can just move it out, and I could just position just that shortcut right there if I wanted to. Or I can grab onto it and snap it back into place, you know, if I want it to be part of the main tool belt. But those are all individual detachable sort of buttons that you could, so then you could cluster. Like today I'm going to be working with assets, and I'm going to be working with lines mostly, and I don't need my saver menu, and I don't need my shapes, and I don't need these are the two I need, and I'm going to put those into my scene right here, so they're front row center while I'm working, and I can just grab onto those anytime, you know. And then I'll put maybe the actual like panel for those will be like out here somewhere. So if I click on assets, boom, I can put that over there, and now I can just go to work. And even furthermore, so that would be like the main menu, but I think like if my assets are like a grid of all individual little assets, I wonder if there's a way we could make every one of those little assets into its own detachable panel, right? So you could just grab, like, I want just this tree. I want to grab a shortcut for that, and I'm going to put that tree right here. So now I've got a tree button, and it's always there. Anytime I want to just make a tree, it's just boom, 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 and I've got my tree. So I could just create like a constellation of stuff I'm working with, and it's always persistent, and I can just use that as my almost like shortcut keys, you know? So it's basically exactly what you have now, only with the difference being that you can just detach and reattach to specific snap nodes, you know?
Right, yeah. So when you're saying snap nodes, you're thinking also...
Because I'd want to be able to put them back, I guess, is my goal. Like, I would want to be able to just grab this shortcut, like right, you know, this shortcut, and be able to just like grab it and snap it back into the menu, and it just is right back into its spot. You know, I'd want to be able to just like completely put it back, you know, and not, because I don't want these to be just a big mess of building blocks that are just like all over the place all the time, you know. Like if I start rearranging these, I want to be able to like just snap them back together again very quickly, which is where the snap nodes. So if the snap nodes were like, let me just grab a different color. If they were like one here and one here, like your point, like you said over by yours, like I can just grab the snap node on this one and just be like, whoop, and it'll just click right into spot, right into place.
And you can rearrange them in that instance too. That way you can, even if you don't want to bring them into the scene, you can have the ones you want to use more often in the front section of it, and then you can reorder them.
Yeah, totally.
So that's part of the nodes too. And then you were bringing up an idea of, so let's say this is like a assets. Oh goodness, don't want to abbreviate this too much. let's add the ET in there.
There you go.
Okay, so we got assets, and then we're pulling the assets up, and then we've got, are you picturing this being a specific asset? Let's do AST.
Yeah, there you go. Well, when I was doing this, I was imagining this is yeah, assets, the button. Like I'm talking about in the context of this group of stuff I'm looking at. I'm trying to draw a dashed line with a marker. This was all like, these are like the main buttons, like shapes, assets, saver, you know, whatever. And I'm just imagining I want to be able to put these shortcuts out here, you know, and then this one is more like one of the panels, like what you've described in your, in the menu. Where did I put my menu?
Or is it off?
Oh, it was off. Yeah, here we go. Panel A, you know, like that's, I'm putting panel A as up here, you know, and then I've got my individual, you know, so then within panel A, these are also detachable, you know, like they all have their own little, every single button has its own little snappable node. It's almost like every UI element is a type of asset in a way, you know what I mean? Like, and you can just grab them and leave them in the scene in your menu space, you know.
So maybe this is like a wall, and then you want to pull that wall out into the world somewhere so that you can quickly like duplicate that into the scene at different points.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Hang on one second. Let me try to do something that'll help kind of.
I'm wondering if you're able to bring those nodes down to this main menu. It seems like you maybe don't want to do that because they don't contextually fit there, but...
Well, if there's another position, so I'll just draw it over here so we're not getting too busy. If I can even. I'm probably oriented all wrong in my room for it to track me. Okay, yeah, if we have like another place on top of this panel for those shortcuts, like a wall or a tree, maybe some kind of bench or whatever.
Here, put a little,
by the wall,
there,
you meant like a specific asset pack?
Like bringing a specific wall, yeah, like
an actual asset.
Oh, okay. I was thinking this was like a UI wall construct type of thing or something. I got confused.
Well, I don't know enough about UI to say what a UI wall construct would be. But,
no, it's fictional, but I mean, I just thought it was like some gridded UI thing that you can put elements on or something. I didn't realize you're actually talking about an asset 3D wall. I thought it was part of the UI design. That's why I got confused.
I mean, the flowers are helpful here. Is that something what you're thinking of? Like you pull it out from like a...
Right. So I'm imagining like you've got like, I want to work with this asset, my bed. I'm gonna actually change the scale of these, and I'm just gonna put these things right in my scene. In my, you know, I'm gonna lock these assets in because I'm working on an interior project, and I'm gonna want all of these guys to be accessible. So these are actually, you know, I'm putting them in kind of random positions, but let me just kind of say like it would be in that square, you know, and I ultimately have like each one of these is its own little button, and I just put these things out, you know, and that's
drawing.
Yeah. Yep.
I'm
seeing what you're drawing now.
Oh, you're not seeing what I'm drawing?
I see all the green lines.
Oh. So Sean's seeing them, but you guys aren't. I'm in container 7.
I'm seeing those. Yeah, I'm seeing those.
Okay. I'm in container 7.
I'm going to take a quick snapshot, too, just so we don't...
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Okay.
I like that idea. And how would you differentiate? I guess they would look a little bit different to give you the indication that they're not actually something you've created in the scene, but they're your quick reference buttons.
I think they'd have this UI panel around them. You know, they'd have a kind of like a special translucent, you know, panel behind them that would make them look...
You can set it up to have a mask such that when you look past the panel, you don't see the object, but it looks like it's like in 3D space there through that panel.
Yeah. Some kind of consistent little edge.
Quickly in the scene. You don't actually...
Yeah, that's a good point. You'd want to make sure that it's part of... But yeah, I think they literally would have a very distinctive graphical edge style, you know, that would give them some hierarchy.
And a node to grab them.
Yeah.
To bring them back in.
Oh, yeah, now I think what John's been drawing is over here. I probably need to duck out and come back.
It's doing that just for you.
I saw everything over here originally though. That's why.
Oh,
All
wow.
right,
I think
I'll be
it's
back.
the container, somehow the container ID, like it didn't get created in the correct container. Do you have a zero? Oh, I should have asked him if you have a zero container. Do any of you guys have any zero containers?
I do not.
Okay,
No.
that's good. That could cause that problem because then things are being created on the root level, which would throw them off.
Yeah, I think this makes more sense as far as something that we could point at pretty easily.
So then too, like maybe these UI panels are like, they're somehow like grids of snap nodes somehow.